Hi everyone, I'm Annette, and here is my prediction. By the time you get done watching this video, you are going to see dollar signs all over the place where you've never seen them before. You're just not going to believe how much money you can make on paper stuff. And you're also going to realize how many $30 to $50 flips, really the bread and butter of reselling, can be found in the paper category. And I'm going to talk about your best sourcing for paper stuff. I'm going to give you tips along the way that I've learned on making top dollar for paper items. And I'm going to start with vintage catalogs. And before you think you know everything about vintage catalogs, I'm going to point out some things that I feel pretty confident you don't know. So let's check it out.
Yay! Flippin' high gravy!
You probably already know that Sears catalogs have lost a lot of value. There's so many on eBay, they're really heavy to ship, but Christmas wish catalogs still do really well. But I'm going to put up some sold listings of catalogs, all kinds of catalogs for you to think about sourcing. They make great money. I've sold so many catalogs through the years, but here's something you might not know. There are people that look for catalogs with certain people in them. I have a buyer that anytime I find like a Dillard's catalog with Stephanie Seymour in it, I don't know if it's because of the November Rain music video or what, but he buys it outright. He's become a really good buyer. That is something to think about. You need to add any names you know who the people are in the catalog, put them in the title, put them in the description to help your buyers find that catalog. Another time I was at an estate sale and I saw 3 Avon fashion catalogs, which they do fairly well because Avon didn't make clothing very long. But I recognized that Elvis's last girlfriend was modeling in one of them. I knew it was quite rare. She didn't have a huge modeling career. And I sold it overnight. I charged $75. I put her name in the title, and the catalog was actually half of the back cover was ripped off. That was how desirable that catalog is. So make sure, if you know those names, to put them in the title, put them in the description so people can find them. And here's something else that you might want to think about doing. I had found this product catalog at an estate sale, a really collectible brand. It's from the 70s. It's a toy company, My Mary, and I wanted to maybe keep it for myself. So I made a copy and I sold it right away, I think for $40. But I thought I'm going to do that again. And I sold another one. I sold another one. By now, I've at least tripled my profit on this catalog. I might do it again. I haven't done it in a while. I actually forgot about it, but I would really recommend thinking about selling a copy and doubling, tripling your profit. I have been reselling for a long time, and I'm still shocked at how much money you can make on stickers. And there's a few things to keep in mind here. The top seller is almost always going to be scratch and sniff. You're rarely going to find those stickers in a craft room. They're generally going to be in a basement or a garage, houses where they kept everything and maybe mixed in with stationery. But look at the prices they can get. If ever there was a time to know when and how to break up a lot, it is with stickers, because look at what you can get just for one perforated section of these fuzzy stickers here. So don't miss that research. Check how they sell, how many sell before you list them. Bottom line is, don't miss out on the most profit you can make. Here's the thing about sourcing paper. Almost without fail, your best finds to make the most money are going to be coming from the basement of an estate sale, where they didn't get to pricing everything because there was so much stuff and they didn't go through all the boxes in the basement. And before you find that daunting, or you think to yourself, where would I even begin? Remember that even if you are to go in any box and find 1 or 2 items of value, take the whole box, go through the rest of it at home. You're going to be ahead. If you find an old passenger list from 1951 or one of these football souvenir programs, it's worth your time to grab the whole box and go through the rest at home. I'm going to give you a few examples of recent finds I had. I was at a sale where they had actually put out a bunch of trash outside the door of the basement, and I thought, I'm just going to go peek and see if there's any good items in the trash. I just grabbed them because I could see antique Valentines. It looked like good paper, and you'll get better at that the more you dig like I do. But I even got home and found a $50 bill tucked inside a birthday card from like 30 years ago. Anytime you go to an estate sale, find out, what did the person do for a living? And those old company items often make big money. And I'll give you a couple more examples. I was at a sale where he had a Hallmark store, and I found some old vintage gift wrap sample books, and I didn't sell them all together. Always make sure, if you can sell them singly for more money, sell them as singles. Made great money. I think 100 per gift wrap book. I was at a house where I found stacks of old 1980s McDonald's to-go bags, a big stack of them. I broke that in two. I think each one sold for $75, if I remember correctly. And lastly, I was at a house where the guy worked for an ice cream company, and there were all these miniature promotional posters for all the different kinds of ice cream and ice cream cones and all that. I sold those in batches of 4 posters per listing. I made a ton of money on those. So make sure you're breaking up your lots if you can make more money. Dig in those boxes and you'll be shocked at what you find. And depending on where the person who lived in that house worked, look for items that pertained to the company. You essentially have one-of-a-kind items then, and you have more discretionary pricing in your favor. For instance, this is a company photo from American Can Company. It's around 1950, I think. They've all got their company sweaters on. This would be considered a good find to flip. Now, this is one of our family's items, so I'm not going to sell it, but this would catch my eye at an estate sale. Also, I was at a recent estate sale where I found all these company newsletters for one company, Titanics, I think is the name, and look at how many I have. Make sure you break up the lot if you can make more money that way. I'm selling these newsletters in groups of 3. I've already sold 2 groups. Before I get back into it, I want to thank you for watching, and if you are finding this information helpful, it would mean the world to me for you to subscribe to my channel and support me in making more videos about flipping on eBay. Here's a quick side note on flipping paper. Historical paper is still really strong. We already went over some of the money you can make on that, but it used to be that you could make a pretty penny on the beautiful papers of ephemera like Art Deco bridge tallies, things like that. So that has lost tremendous value. But the good news is what has emerged is what you can make on an early issue of Martha Stewart Living magazine or even the first TV guide. There are exceptions. Some greeting cards by certain artists are really desirable yet, like Mary Hamilton and Pete Hawley. That does happen, but by and large, you need to keep up with the paper that is selling now. Prepare to be amazed again at the sold listings I'm going to show you here. I have sold a lot of posters through the years. I love selling them because they're always really good profits. But what I've stopped doing is I no longer list them in the frame. If I find one that's framed behind glass, I immediately remove the frame and I list it without the frame. So much less headache in listing and shipping. You'll still get top dollar. There was one time that I unknowingly bought one where it was mounted to a backboard. I couldn't remove it from that glue. I still was able to sell it. I had to ship it in a bigger box, but it was a lot less fragile still and a lot less headache. So I was able to ship it successfully. These TWA travel posters are definitely a top seller, but so are the any kind of pop poster or retro brand poster, keep an eye out for them because just posters alone sell prolifically on eBay. I'm going to end this video with two great inspirations for you. The first one is that I was at an estate sale where I had an opportunity to buy a whole bunch of Hallmark stationery from the 70s for $10. And I got home, started comping a few of them. Hallmark stationery isn't doing that great right now, but I had some by Susie Angel was the character. There was none, I couldn't even find any that had sold. So I had no comps to work with, and I thought, I'll just put it up for auction. And it happened to close right at $300. Anytime you don't have really any comps to work with, you might want to try an auction instead and be surprised like I was. I would recommend that. And anytime I'm at a yard sale or an estate sale and I see scrapbooks, I do look at them and see if there's anything that might be of value inside them, mementos or anything that might be good. And I found a Kentucky Derby ticket from about 1935. It sold for $125 overnight. Of course, I'm thinking to myself, did I price it too low? And then also I found some old gum wrappers, and I don't remember what I made on each one because I sold them individually, but I made really good money. Their gum wrappers are still doing well depending on the brand. Just be careful of scrapbooks because a lot of times those Victorian scrapbooks used really powerful glue that does not budge, and you can't pull those things off. Sometimes you can cut around the item and still list it, but it's not ideal. And ideal is that the items are tucked in there, they're loose, and you can list them properly. But don't overlook scrapbooks. It can be a bonanza of treasures. There is so much more I could talk about in regards to flipping paper, but I'm going to end it here. And if there's any particular topic you'd like me to cover and draw on my experience with, drop it in a comment below. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.